My dear patients, I am Dr. Alexander Shishonin, and today I'd like to talk with you about a truly critical issue, the hypertensive crisis, and what you can do on your own to bring it under control. The fact is that the person in the state of the hypertensive crisis is usually shocked and disoriented. That is, he or she does not understand what is happening, and that escalates the fear. A powerful psychological reaction that closes the vicious circle, and that only aggravates and amplifies the crisis, which can lead to serious adverse consequences. If the pressure keeps rising and exceeds 300, a blood vessel may simply burst in the head, and now we have a brain hemorrhage. With elders, whose vessels are already quite frail and weak, this can occur even when they have lower blood pressure readings. So we're talking about the critical skills for the patient, how to help yourself, especially since so many of us love getting out of town to our country houses, and there is no doctor. There may be no access to qualified medical care around you whatsoever. So these skills are essential, literally vital skills. So today I'll give you a mini lesson on how to act right in these situations. I'll write the topic here, the topic for our video. Well then, so it happened. You are hypertensive, you don't practice our methods of control yet, and now your pressure is very, very high. And now you have a crisis, and you can't call for an ambulance, you have no access to care. And one more thing, as far as the drugs that I would recommend, we'll discuss that at the end of the video. First, I will talk about ways to deal with the crisis without the drugs. Later, we'll also touch on the drugs, because, well, you can use them in these situations. I approve of conservative medication approaches in the first stage of hypertension treatment. Later, of course, the drug intake should be minimized or eliminated altogether. So here's what you do first. You just measured your pressure, you're having a hypertensive crisis. Separately, of course, I will provide the instructions in our blog on how to measure arterial pressure correctly. That's a separate topic. For now, let's just say that you measured your pressure somehow, mechanically or electronically, and the blood pressure reading is over 200. That's it. Here it goes. You're feeling very sick. And the first thing that truly matters, I would say, step number one in dealing with the oncoming crisis is to calm down. You should know that if your pressure is up, it's not dropping sharply, and you're not feeling well, and the pressure is elevated, most likely you're not about to die, and you're not having a stroke. That's just one of the paradoxes in medicine. We'll talk about that later, why low blood pressure is more dangerous than high pressure. But the first thing you need to understand is that you're not dying, that you will not die here this second. You need to calm down and pull yourself together. So number one, I'll write here. First, calm down. Well, to the best of your ability, given the situation. To calm down is half the victory. That's 50% of the problem fixed right there. That's the most important thing that you need to be able to do on your own. People usually can't. Why can't they? Because they don't understand what is happening. The fact is that a lot of patients, I would say 100% of them, are confident that at the time of the hypertensive crisis, they are feeling anxious and really sick because they're having high pressure. That's the reason for their terrible state. They're sure that it's all because of the pressure. If they brought down the pressure, everything would normalize. That's wrong. Big mistake. The reason for your awful state is not that you have 220 over 130, roughly speaking. Elevated blood pressure, in general, is not something that a person can feel. What we immediately notice is the sudden drop of oxygen level in the brain. We talked about this in my videos in great detail. I recommend watching our videos because we provide very detailed explanations, quite a few hours of video. For now, I'll keep it simple. The reason is not that the pressure is high. That's not the reason for your feeling sick. What's the first thing that happens to make you feel that way? All of a sudden, the brain is starved of oxygen. Abruptly, the brain is not functioning well, it's stressed. So the brain forces the heart, quite literally, to rapidly increase the blood pressure to increase the perfusion. That is, the influx of fresh oxygen-saturated blood into the brain. In other words, the hypertensive crisis is a reflex, a protective reflex that protects you from an ischemic attack and stroke. And you feel the way you feel precisely because there is a deficit of oxygen in your brain. So that's that. As soon as you find a way to increase the amount of oxygen in your head, the pressure will immediately start dropping without any pills whatsoever. So the first thing that you need to do, oddly enough, is not to lie on the couch and wait for your death. Pull yourself together and do something about it. You can see it here. And the second thing to do is to get out into the fresh air. That's classic emergency care. Patients don't know that, of course. So that's why I'm telling you. The second step is to get outside or open the window. In general, provide access to fresh air. Third, as soon as you got access to fresh air, you should by all means optimize your state of mind. How can you work on this without drugs? Pay attention to your breath. There is a technique called the Buteyko technique. I really like it. It's not without its shortcomings, but I respect this technique. It helps to deal with hypertensive crisis. If you learn this technique, it'll serve you well. If you haven't looked into Buteyko technique yet, it offers special methodology for crisis control with breath. How can you calm yourself down? Optimize your breathing. When a person is scared, he or she begins to breathe fast. You would too if you're anxious. It's the stress. Here's taking control of your breath. That is when you take a deep breath, hold it back, breathe out. Take a deep breath, hold back, breathe out. In that way, you let oxygen saturate the blood, penetrate the lungs, enter blood vessels, and reach the brain. This will automatically calm you down. This kind of soothing breathing. Deep breathing. So you've gone through all those steps. What needs to be done after that? Well, you need to take advantage of the body reflexes. The body has excellent natural reflexes that help a lot in these situations. The first reflex is that our cerebral blood supply improves when the head and neck come in contact with the cold. That is, if you apply something cold to your neck, or put a wet cold rag on your forehead, the blood would automatically rush in. The bilateral circulation would improve. That's a reflex. That will help your brain cope with oxygen deficiency. It will quickly saturate and turn off the hypertonic reflex, and your pressure will drop. So you need to complete these steps. The fourth point being the application of the cold to the neck, forehead, and temples. You will end up with an efficient step-by-step plan. It'll do a lot of good, even without the drugs. Well, of course, we realize that cases vary, and unfortunately, there are lots of patients with advanced conditions, which is why we started this project, because the number of deaths is horrifying. So many strokes, heart attacks. We covered this in previous videos, and I'll keep talking about it. It's just outrageous, the number of the worst outcomes that keep happening. So those steps are meant to help you overcome this situation. Well, what if it didn't help? What can you do next? How can you help yourself? I'll start by telling you about the medications that are applicable when you're in the early stages of hypertension with symptoms. I won't go into really strong drug choices, but they need to be effective so that you do not harm yourself with them. Unfortunately, that can happen too. The most effective application of drugs without any adverse consequences during the hypertensive crisis is to take anywhere from 50 drops, that's if a person weighs little, up to 100 drops, a single powerful dose of valacordin or corvalol. These drops, on the one hand, serve as a sedative for the nervous system, and on the other hand, they have a pronounced vascular microcirculatory effect. That's why they work well. You can take them once, it'll help you. I'll write it here. Valacordin or corvalol, your choice, 50 to 100 drops, depending on your body weight. If you weigh 50 kilograms, then take 50 drops. 100 kilograms, take 100 drops. 120, then take 120 drops. So we started with that. You get immediate results and a harmless medication to start with. Second, what to take next. So you've had the crisis, it's over with, you took valacordin. Okay, that can come back. The vessels can react again. The brain can initiate the hypertonic reflex. You should always try to get a good sleep after it happened. In my practice, I often recommend it. It's always very effective. Nowadays, plant extracts are available. Motherwort extracts. Motherwort forte, these ones. They're very good, so you take 2-3 tablets. They're these small white round pills. They're very good at helping you sleep and recover from this stressful state. So, motherwort. If you don't have the pills, and pills take a little longer to act. If you want to get the effect within 5 minutes, take the motherwort extract drops. You take 40-50 drops of the motherwort extract and go to bed. Or you can replace that with valerian extracts. Or you can mix. For example, half motherwort and half valerian. These extracts work well. I'll also mention one non-organic medicine. The drugs that we discussed before are simpler. There exist more selective drugs. And here I'll mention another drug. Well, let's just say, in case nothing else worked. I have to say, though, Do not expect the pressure to drop immediately after you've done all that we've just discussed, these steps, because it won't. Wait it out for 20 or 30 minutes. The pressure per se, even if it's still high, I'll repeat, is not a life-threatening symptom at these moments. It's much worse if it plunges on you. Then you'd really get to feel the difference between feeling unwell and feeling really bad. God forbid that happens. But if the pressure holds, there's no need to run around all anxious for it to drop. Wait for half an hour, take a walk, distract yourself with something. Watch something on TV, and then measure the pressure again. It will fall. Well, if you gave it plenty of time and the pressure still holds, then you can take 1 tablet of Capoten. I'll write it here. Capoten. Just keep it on you at all times. Capoten. And you can take it. For a start, I recommend to dissolve half a tablet under your tongue, and then wait for half an hour or 1 hour. See if it didn't help. You can add another half, but you shouldn't take more than 1. As a rule, well, in 99% of cases, we specifically train our patients with this technique. And now you learn how to do it right. So if the patient follows our instructions with the full understanding that the first thing to do is to calm down, pull yourself together. If you don't pull yourself together, the stress will simply crush you. You may lose consciousness, God forbid, and even then you will not die. You'll just lose consciousness, you can knock your head against something when falling, etc. So that's the story. Use these skills, watch our video blog, and step by step, with our help, high blood pressure will be a thing of the past. Subscribe to our channel and never miss a new video. Click subscribe under this video. Once you clicked it, you're subscribed. Click or tap the bell to receive notifications about our new videos to your email. Click on All to receive all notifications. In the description below, you will find the links to all the projects by Dr. Shishonin. Dr. Shishonin's Club for Ex-Patients. Dr. Shishonin's videos. Set up an appointment for a free consultation at the clinic. And stay healthy.